shut up, you listen to my monkey mouth. There's a companion when you got pun on the Kanoa route. Hopped in a portal and got in a fight, Elias knocked him out. Bow, Naruto fighting style. Bow, UFC he tapped out. Bow, we win, we get crowned. Monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth.
What's up, Armchair Army? Welcome back to another edition of Armchair Mixed Martial Arts. This is Joshua, as always, and this is a super special edition of the podcast. It's the first edition of 2023, and so we're going to be doing a 2022 year-in review, right? We're going to go over all of the awards that were dished out across, I believe there's Fighter of the Year, Female Fighter of the Year, Breakthrough Fighter of the Year, all kinds of cool stuff that we're going to go over. We're also going to talk about some of the stuff that's coming up in 2023. There's been some fight announcements, some stuff like that. But really, I want to go over all the awards, the World MMA Awards, all the stuff that was passed out. And so, I hope everybody had a great holiday. I know these times can be hard. Especially on men, man, it's it's a wild time out here for folks. And so just know I love y'all, gang, armchair army type shit. We're going to rock till the end. You guys, I really appreciate y'all, and I hope you guys are doing well, sincerely. But that's enough of that soft shit. Let's talk about fights. Fighter of the Year was Alexander Volkanovski. Honorable mentions were Charles Oliveira, Islam Makhachev, and Francis Ngannou. But Alexander Volkanovski, it's hard to deny that. He won his third fight against Max Holloway and did so pretty, the most emphatically I feel like a fight's been won so far in that entire saga. He also stomped out Korean Zombie, made Herb Dean step in and stop it while they were standing still. Just a complete ass whooping. Really showed that there's levels to this shit, right? Showed the difference in the level of Max Holloway and the rest of the field, right? Because Korean Zombie's no slouch. And, the way he did Korean Zombie and the way he's been able to clear out the division and the way he was able to put that work on Max Holloway is what's got him going up to 155 and setting up the super fights with the current champ over there. So, I think he even got a Performance of the Night bonus. And so, 2 fights, 2 championship defenses, 1 finish, 1 Performance of the Night bonus, beat Max Holloway for a 3rd time in the most decisive way. I can't be mad at him for winning Fighter of the Year. Charles Oliveira, he's a fun pick, but he ultimately wound up losing to Islam Makhachev, so they're usually not going to give it to you. And then Islam Makhachev was up there, but, again, he just now took the belt from Charles. He wasn't holding it down, and so it might not look as impressive for the potential voters. And then Francis Ngannou, heavyweight champion of the world, baddest man on the planet, but he hasn't been super active. So, between then there's also Johnny Eblin, who I'm not entirely familiar with. He's probably from another organization other than the UFC. You guys know I primarily just keep up with the UFC. But Female Fighter of the Year was Valentina Shevchenko. Go fucking figure. She's been beating everybody's ass. Honorable mentions were Juliana Pena, Chris Cyborg, Kayla Harrison, Raquel Pennington. The Raquel Pennington one being up there, she's a great fighter, but looking at the list, I probably felt like it wouldn't have gone her way. Chris Cyborg's obviously always out there just doing cyborg things. Juliana Pena with the huge upset over Amanda Nunes, but she wound up losing her belt, so, it is what it is. I wouldn't have been mad if they gave it to Kayla Harrison, man, but she's just not in the UFC, man, and you just don't get the clout. You just don't get the clout. You're not gonna win over people's hearts and minds by fighting in an organization other than the UFC, which it's hard for Kayla Harrison. They don't really have a weight class built out for her in the UFC. It's by no fault of her own. She's just built the way she is. It's not like she's out of shape and can't get down to an appropriate weight or anything like that. She's just a big old girl, and I don't believe the UFC believes they can court enough talent to really feed her. Is the end of the story. And she's also making great, great money. Just dominating PFL, and yeah, dude, she's been kicking butt. But Valentina Shevchenko, undefeated for God knows how long, smashing everybody that she fights. Doing the thing that her competitor believes is going to be where they have a competitive advantage, and taking that, the Jessica Andrade fight is one that comes to mind, right? She out-grappled Jessica Andrade. It's one of those, it's almost like John Jones, whenever John Jones was going and purposely outperforming in people's preferred skill set, just to prove how alpha he was type shit. Breakthrough Fighter of the Year is Paddy Pimblett, which, it's he gets the kind of black eye with his most recent win, having such a suspect scorecard. But again, I love that his most recent fight went the way that it went, because it's a clear indication that the judges are truly starting to prioritize damage dealt in the fight as the number one indicator as to who won the fight or not. Period. It's about hurting that other man or woman, but it's about hurting somebody, right? That's how you win a fight, is by hurting the other person, right? And so they're looking at damage now. And granted, his opponent landed more strikes. I feel like Paddy Pimblett definitely landed to greater effect, and so I'm not mad about it. I'm really not mad about it. I think it's a positive thing. It's a positive change that we're seeing in the way that these fights are being judged. Y'all have heard me go on the rant about it before. Big John McCarthy's been saying they've been doing it wrong, and I think that word finally got back. And John McCarthy literally wrote the rules, and so when the guy who wrote the rules is displeased with how they're being interpreted, then obviously things need to change, and it seems as though things have finally changed. So shout out to Paddy Pimblett for winning Breakthrough Fighter of the Year. Not only is he fun on the mic and in the octagon, but he's a great guy. He's brought a lot of awareness to men's mental health. One of the best quotes of the year is, "I'd rather you cry on my shoulder than I cry at your funeral next week." So shout out to him, man, for the work that he's doing. He seems like a really good dude. Hopefully the whatever beef that's sprung up between him and Ariel Helwani gets smashed. You hate to see that type of stuff. I'm not here for the ugliness. I'm here for the fights and the good vibes, to be really honest. And that's Paddy Pimblett. He's here for the fights and the good vibes, right? Like outside of the octagon, he's doing some really, really beautiful things. And he's really, really fun on the microphone, and he puts on really, really exciting performances in the octagon. I don't know if he's ready for the top 15 yet, but man, he's definitely got some star power behind him, being in the UK. The UK is just thirsty for a star. They need one so bad. They love their mixed martial arts over there, and they don't really have that guy ever since Michael Bisping left. They were hoping Darren Till would be that guy, but it hasn't really panned out the way everybody would have hoped. No disrespect to Darren Till. He's a great fighter, but the trajectory hasn't gone the way everybody was hoping whenever he was really hitting the scene. Honorable mentions for Breakthrough Fighter of the Year include Tai Tuivasa, Matuas Gamro, Molly McCann, old Molly Meatball, Patty's sidekick, and Johnny Eblen, which Johnny Eblen was up for Fighter of the Year. So Johnny Eblen was not only up for Fighter of the Year, but also Breakthrough Fighter of the Year. Crazy to think that Johnny Eblen is the only guy on the list of potential recipients for the Breakthrough Fighter of the Year award who was also listed as a potential recipient for Fighter of the Year. You would think that qualification alone would have set him up for being the winner. But that goes to show what the significance of star power is within the industry that is mixed martial arts. Tai Tuivasa, man, guy's been swinging and banging. I watched him knock out Derek Lewis live, like in the crowd. I hit the Texas trifecta and did all the UFCs that they did in Texas this year and last year rather. And that was one of the most disappointing bits. But, still have Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis, knockout king, man. He's my man, swinging and banging. But Tai Tuivasa, real fun guy, doing shoeies. Matias Gamro had his huge fight with, I can't remember his name, but he had a big fight that was really showcased both of their skill, to be honest. Molly Meatball wound up getting her ass kicked in her most recent fight, so makes sense that she didn't get the award. But no disrespect to her, she's a great fighter, and she's gonna find her place. She's gonna keep improving. If nothing lights a fire underneath a legitimate fighter's ass like a loss, right? If she's made of the stuff that champions are made of, she's gonna come back way stronger after that. You can guarantee it. And if not, then it is what it is. I don't know. Time's gonna tell that tale. I like to believe in Molly Meatball though, personally. International Fighter of the Year. I don't see who won that one. But the recipients were Alexander Volkanovski, Roberto Soldic, Marit Gamro, Islam Makhachev, and Khamzat Chimaev. Probably Khamzat got that. Fight of the year was Yuri Prochazka versus Glover Teixeira at UFC 275. And this was an absolutely legendary war. Yuri in the stand-up was more creative, threw in more kicks and more weird striking, whereas Glover was very traditional and high and tight with his form and his boxing and very few kicks. And Glover seemed to be getting the better of the exchanges through most of the fight, although he did get hurt a few times. And it seemed as though Glover was getting the better of the exchanges in the grappling too, to be really frank. But in the fifth round, Yuri wound up getting that choke and getting the win. And it was an epic fight. It really was an epic fight. So I have no qualm with this fight winning this award. I watched it live and was absolutely blown away by it. Wild what's happened in the wake of this fight in the 205-pound division, the light heavyweight division. Yuri wound up separating his shoulder in practice and someone tried to push it back in and it blew it apart, is the story that I heard. And so he vacated his belt because he's going to be out for a year with some gruesome shoulder injury. And then Glover turned down a fight between him and somebody. I can't remember who exactly they were trying to offer it to. But he turned it. They were going to give him Ankalaev, and he turned that down. So they gave the fight between Ankalaev and Jan Blachowicz a go for the vacated UFC 205 light heavyweight championship belt. And those two dudes fought to a draw, and Dana acted like it was the most boring fight ever, but I actually kind of enjoyed it. But it was a draw, so we go into 2023 with no 205-pound champion. Really, we all know it's Yuri, right? But he's technically vacated the belt. But so now it's going to be Glover Teixeira versus Jamal Hill for the undisputed 205 light heavyweight belt. And good on Jamal Hill. I think it's honestly a winnable fight for Jamal Hill. But we're digressing, right? We're supposed to be talking about the actual fight itself and why it won Fight of the Year, which we've already done. But the honorable mentions were Justin Gaethje versus Michael Chandler at 268. My God, what a war! What an absolute war! And Justin Gaethje, now that he's with Trevor Whitman and them, and he's fighting a little bit more conservatively and throwing a little bit more technically and just being a little bit more calculated in there, he's an unstoppable force. And Michael Chandler has been so much fun in the UFC. Every single fight that he's had, including this one, have been just bangers. I mean, he's in the fight of the year talk. So good on the UFC for picking him up from Bellator. Sinuses are kind of clogged up, man. I'm sorry if y'all can hear me kind of wheezing. Sorry, y'all. But other honorable mentions for fight of the year were Alexander Volkanovski versus Brian Ortega, which that feels like forever ago. Forever ago. But yeah, that was a heck of a fight. My God, any lesser human than Alexander Volkanovski would. And so hold on. So fight of the year is Alexander Volkanovski and Brian Ortega. So I guess Volkanovski had 3 fights. I thought he only had 2 fights. Yeah, because he had Korean Zombie and he had Max Holloway, for sure. And I guess Brian Ortega as well, because it's potential for fight of the year this year. Either way, maybe I'm mistaken on my stats. Either way, that was one of the honorable mentions for fight of the year. Khamzat Chimaev and Gilbert Burns at 273 got listed for potential fight of the year. That was a dog fight. We really got to see a lot of what Khamzat was made of, and Beller's is a real deal. And he's young, and yeah, we're gonna see what comes of it with that guy. Gilbert Burns put on a hell of a performance. I don't feel like he lost any real stock. I mean, he's still out here getting big names and big fights. And then we had Max Holloway and Yair Rodriguez, which this is the fight where, they finally had Max and Alexander Volkanovski kind of quit fighting one another, right? While Volkov was out fighting Brian Ortega or Korean Zombie. Max came in and fought Yair Rodriguez, and it was a great fight. UFC Vegas 42, non-title 5-round fight. It was classic Max Holloway. And Yair is a dog. I think some people in the past have questioned Yair's heart, and that can no longer be in question after the way he fought Max Holloway. And honestly, how you could question it after the way he fought Korean Zombie back in the day. But either way, people talk. Next up is Knockout of the Year, which, oh my God. It's Michael Chandler knocking out Tony Ferguson with the front kick at UFC TIFs at 274. Absolutely stunning knockout. Give me a second while I hydrate. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. But, not only was it just a soccer punt to the chin from hell that was stunning in and of itself, but the context of it, right? Tony Ferguson had never been stopped, ever. And to see him get stopped like that was just out of this world. Honorable mentions were Ignacio Bahamondes wheel kicking Roosevelt Roberts, which was pretty incredible. Sergio Pettis getting a spinning back fist in Bellator 272. Molly Meatball getting the spinning back elbow versus Laura Carolina in UFC London, which was dope. And Roman Feraldo with a flying knee versus Robert Turnquist at Bellator 271. Cool to see 2 Bellator fights on there. I wish that they maybe weren't all just going to UFC, but it is what it is. Submission of the year wound up going to Charles Oliveira whenever he rear naked choked Dustin Poirier at UFC 269, which that was a hell of a fight, man. Those 2 dudes fought it out. Yeah, it was, again, that's another one of those ones that feels like a lifetime ago at this point, but, it was everything that you would have ever expected, right? Charles Oliveira is going to go straight through whoever he's fighting, and so is Dustin Poirier, and it was fireworks as you'd expect. Dustin Poirier jumped on a guillotine at one point. Charles Oliveira got knocked down and came back. I mean, like all the quintessential things that you expect out of a fight from either one of these 2 individuals happened. So it was a really fun fight. I enjoyed it a lot. It checked all the boxes for your boy. Honorable mentions for submission of the year include Jessica Andrade, standing arm triangle choking Amanda Lemos. There's also Oliver and Camp with an inverted triangle choke versus Mark Lemminger at Bellator 281. That Jessica Andrade standing arm triangle choke was incredible. I think that's the one for me, to be really honest. That's like the one for sure, for sure. Um, you've seen standing rear nakeds, you've seen a few different submissions, but I've never seen a standing head and arm choke, a standing arm triangle. It was really neat to watch. It tickled it tickled your boy's pussy. It blew my skirt up. It floated my boat. It did the thing. Everything that I wanted that fight to do, it did it for me. But other honorable mentions for submission of the year included Yuri Prochazna with his rear naked choke over Glover Teixeira in the last round of their epic light heavyweight championship war at UFC 275. Stevie Ray with a modified body lock versus Anthony Pettis at PFL 5. I do not recall that. Damn. I feel like that's something I'd recall. And then obviously the Oliver and Camp with the inverted triangle choke versus Mark Lemminger at Bellator 281 that I mentioned previously. And the winner, like we said, was Oliveira rear naked choking Poirier at UFC 269. Comeback of the year. Oh, it's Aljamain Sterling coming back from his intense ridicule and injury. Oh, that's wholesome, MMA community. Y'all did something nice. Good for Aljamain Sterling. Give that man a trophy, for real though, because his neck was already fucked up before Peter Yan kneed him to space illegally and fucked it up even worse. And so for him to stick to his guns and take the time that he knew that he needed to properly deal with and rehabilitate his neck was obviously the right choice. And I'm going to be honest, I was picking Peter Yan to beat Aljamain Sterling. And Aljamain Sterling went out there and did it, like for real did it. There was no real question. It wasn't a bad decision in my world. So, good on Aljamain Sterling. It's kind of cheesy, right? But in real life, he's a real human who really overcame some real shit. And so that's dope. That's dope. It gives me dopamine to see that. But other honorable mentions were Sergio Pettis versus Kyoji Horiguchi at Bellator 272. And that was one of the submissions of the year? Knockout of the year. Yeah, Sergio Pettis got the spinning back fist in this fight at UFC Bellator 272. I gotta get that in check. It's not all UFC stuff. But so yeah, Sergio Pettis got the comeback of the year honorable mention, as well as knockout of the year honorable mention for his performance at Bellator 272. So really good on Sergio Pettis. Carla Esparza, just for her career, right? The way she's come back, I am mad at that. Clay Guida versus Leonardo Santos. I'm such a Clay Guida stan, so should have given that to Clay Guida. And then Chris Curtis come back with his career, right? Chris Curtis just recently sent Joaquin Buckley to space. And he looked great. He's looking like he can, defend takedowns very effectively. It's like his defense is really good everywhere, right? He's hard to hit, he's hard to take down. He fights kind of conservatively, but he's not like a boring guy. He's a good one. He's someone to watch. But bet on Chris Curtis is what I'm trying to say. Bet on Chris Curtis. Upset of the year, this isn't even a discussion. Juliana Pena choking out Amanda Nunes at UFC 269 was insanity. I actually still have the video saved on my phone where I screen recorded it because it was so epic, and I can literally put it on right now, and it gave me goosebumps. It was out of this world. And shout out to John Anik for holding it together during that chaos and being able to keep the play-by-play going while Joe and DC just completely fucking melted down, right? If John, so here's my thing. I don't recall who won. I watched the thing, but I'm high constantly, so I don't remember shit. I can look it up. But so if John Anik didn't get like broadcaster of the year or what have you for the way that he handled broadcasting during the Juliana Pena upset over Amanda Nunez, I'm gonna be personally upset. You should do better. But Juliana Pena, man, putting that work on Amanda Nunez at 269, that's just no complaints here. No notes. Voters, y'all did great. Other honorable mentions for upset of the year include Mariusz Podzanowski versus Michael Materla at KSW 70. Jesus Christ, y'all could have gotten some guys with easier names on the list for me to try and say. Jesus Christ. I'm going to get roasted one day. People are going to pick up this podcast. They're going to be like, this motherfucker didn't even read, didn't even think to try beforehand. You're right. I didn't think. Fuck you. You're not worth it. Mateus Scheffel versus Bruno Capolosa at PFL 5. I like me some PFL. I don't like that you can't elbow on the ground, but hey, that's life. Ben Parrish versus Christian Edwards at Bellator 266. And Seika Izawa versus Ayaka Hamasaki at Ryzen 33. Bruh, all these upsets were in organizations other than the UFC. I'm gonna have to go watch some of these so that I can understand some of the context. Best promotion of the year, UFC, low diff. Bellator nipping at their heels. PFL, Cage Warriors, KSW. Okay, we got some people trying, right? I don't understand where one championship is in any of this, but hey, that's life. Leading man of the year, Dana White, UFC, winner. We're going to see if everybody still feels that way after they got the footage of him slapping the shit out of his old lady at that party. Hit the scene. Did you fucking see that shit?
Yes.
He slapped the dog shit out of that bitch, bro.
Slapped the shit out of her, dog.
Bruh,
Oh
listen,
my god, I'm fucking crying, dude. Fuck.
listen, I'd tell the media that
Oh shit.
I I'd tell the media that he told me that he was a man and that I was trying to tell him that I ain't married to no man, and then he slapped me, so I slapped him back. I would definitely be like, he identified as a man, and that was what we were fighting about to start with, and so I was defending myself from a man. Because I believe in the current state of things, if that person has female genitalia but identifies as a man, then you get to defend yourself from them as though they're a man, because it's all a matter of identification these days. But I don't fucking know. If you punch me, I'm gonna cry, because I'm easily offended. I'm fucking retarded. But let's go over the honorable mentions for leading man of the year. Scott Coker, Bellator, Peter Murray, PFL, Graham Boyan, Cage Warriors, and Kareth Brown, IMMAF. Man, shout out Scott Coker. That guy's a beast. He did so good. He hit the lick on Strike Force and was like, "Sure, I'll sign a non-compete." And then the day that his non-compete was over, he signed up Bellator, and now it's the #2 show in town. It's like Bellator's the Hulu to UFC's Netflix. It's so great how Scott Coker's gonna cash out, getting bought out by the UFC again. Like, god damn it, that guy's a beast. Like low key, he's my favorite. Low key, he's my favorite. Uh, maybe the guy who runs the bare knuckle fighting too, because that motherfucker tackled that guy who sucker punched that feller. Yeah, he's a real one. Bare knuckle fighting guy's a real one. Come be on my podcast. Referee of the year was Mark Goddard, which I'm mad at that. Mark Goddard's like the gold standard. Yeah. NNKP, no nonsense. Keith Peterson was a runner-up. Mark Smith was a runner-up. Mike Beltran was a runner-up, and so was Jason Herzog. Those are all bangers. Where in the fuck is Herb Dean on this list, though? Why is there no Herb Dean? Yeah, they're tripping. I think that's why, because Herb Dean would have just won in some overwhelming landslide, and so they were like, fuck it, we're just gonna let everybody else who's really fighting for second take a trophy home. And like they just like gave Herb Dean a bigger version of the same trophy for his house. Analyst of the year, Paul Feld. No, so it's Michael Bisping won it, right? Damn, Michael Bisping's a fucking legend, bro. Went from being the face of, man, winning championships as a fighter to now winning championships as a fucking analyst, bro. What a king. What a king. Oh. And he's a pirate. Pirate gang. He's one piece in this bitch.
Yeah, there's one eye.
Yeah. That motherfucking, well, he's got two eyes. Just one of them made of glass. The motherfucker is always drifting. God damn it. Why am I talking shit about Michael Bisping on my podcast? That guy's gonna beat my fucking ass when he sees me with his one eye. Son of a bitch. But Michael Bisping, I love you, bro. You've been such a great fighter and such a great analyst. I'm sorry I'm an idiot. But runners up, or honorable mentions, whatever you want to call it, are Paul Felder, Dan Hardy, Kenny Florian, Dominic Cruz. I love to see Dan Hardy on this list because they tried to blackball that fool, and he was like, you know what? I'm so much better of an analyst than anybody else that y'all have. Was gonna do me anyways. Fuck y'all. I fuck with Dan Hardy. He might right now he might not have all the same tools that he used to have, but he still provides the best, like, in-depth critical analysis of what is going on in the fights or what's going to potentially go on in the fights. If you want to understand the X's and O's of what's about to happen in a fight that you're interested in, watch what the Dan Hardy breakdown. I think he's got the War Room. He's got a few things. Full Reptile. Go check out Dan Hardy, man, because he's got some really, really great content. And if you want to understand what's happening when someone puts their foot there, or what's happening whenever someone slips this way, or what's happening whenever someone grabs this way whenever they're grappling, Dan Hardy is going to break that fucking down for you and explain how that, not only what they're doing, but how that relates to the fight that's coming up for that character. So big ups for Dan Hardy, and I'm glad that him going through the trials and tribulations that he's gone through with the UFC ultimately haven't slowed him down. We're still seeing him being mentioned as potential analyst of the year. So went from talking shit about Michael Bisping to standing for Dan Hardy. Damn, what's going on with me today, bro? I need to quit getting so high before I do this shit. Kenny Florian. Listen, Kenny Florian, to this day, I remember Kenny Florian throwing elbows off the bottom and cutting a dude so bad that he effectively was able to win the fight with elbows from bottom. And it was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Like, Kenny Florian lives in my brain rent-free. Paul Felder, the Irish Dragon, come the fuck on. That red beard on that pasty white skin, that shit pops, bro. Come on. Like, just march that guy out in front of the cameras. He's going to sell tickets. Dominic Cruz, hard to beat. The guy definitely has some amazing on the fly when it's going live ability to communicate what's happening. Son of a bitch. I'm scrolling. And they ain't got any way for them to, I guess, broadcaster of the year. They ain't got that. They didn't give my man John Anik his due credit for holding it together during the Juliana Pena upset over Amanda Nunez, and I'm upset about it. John Anik, you get a second shout out from your boy for the job you did during that fight. Real recognizes real. I saw that shit. I heard it too. I've also watched a clip of Juliana Pena beating Amanda Nunez like 400 fucking times. So, of course, I've heard every bit of what was said and how it was said. Analyst of the year, personality of the year. Okay, so this is fun. Oh, here we are. So personality of the year, John Anik is an honorable mention. Well, fuck. Okay, they put him in personality of the year category. And guess who else lives in there? I'm going to read all these names, and I'll let you decide who you think won. Laura Sanko, Daniel Cormier, Chael Sonnen, Joe Rogan, John Anik. We can just keep it moving because we know who won that. Everybody's on that Joe Rogan fucking knob right now. Really has been. I've been on his knob since he was doing motherfucking just solo podcasts with him and his goddamn dog in his bedroom in a webcam. So, fuck it. I get standing for Joe Rogan. But John Anik, you get a hard honorable mention from your boy. Best MMA programming goes to Morning Combat, which I ain't mad at that. Luke Thomas and them, those guys do a great job. But honorable mentions for the JRE MMA show. Of course, Joe Rogan's going to be mentioned. The MMA Hour, Dana White Contender Series, and UFC Embedded. Oh shit! So Morning Combat got the best MMA program when competing directly head to head against the UFC on some of their side shit. Damn! Shout out Luke Thomas for real, bro. That's dope, bro. Virtual Knuckles, bro. Yeah, I'm proud of you, for real, for real. MMA media source of the year is ESPN. Oh, well, fuck me. Of course. There's MMA Fighting, MMA Junkie, BT Sports, and Sherdog also got mentioned, but I mean, goddamn, ESPN's got a swinging dick bigger than all those guys combined, so that's how it's going to be. MMA Journalist of the Year, Ariel Helwani. Go fucking figure. That's the dude. Has been the dude for forever. John Morgan was an honorable mention. Shaheen Al-Shahadi was an honorable mention, as well as Aaron Bronstetter and Mike Bond. Where is Brett Okamoto in all this? Is he not an MMA journalist? Am I tripping? You would expect to see Brett Okamoto in that list, I would imagine. I'm certain someone will be like, he's actually he's this, and that's why he's not on the list, and I'll appreciate it. I am going to talk shit about you, though. Coach of the Year goes to Eugene Behrman. Okay, I love that. I'm a big Eugene Behrman fan. They got a really, really good thing going out there in Oceania. They got Israel and all those guys. Dan Hooker. They got a fucking whole tribe of killers out there. Honorable mentions are Eric Nixick, Mike Brown, Henry Hooft, and Diego Lima. Those are all names. Those are all very respectable names. Gym of the Year, City Kickboxing got Gym of the Year over honorable mentions that included Extreme Couture, American Top Team, Kill Cliff FC, formerly Stanford MMA. Those guys, Stanford MMA was formerly something else too. Oh, and Fortis MMA got the nod. Hell yeah. The Sarge, Saif Saud, all those guys. Motherfucking Hands of Steel Neil, Jeff Neal, likes the podcast type shit. Yeah, you guys all get a special place in my heart, for show. Trainer of the Year, Heather Linden, won over honorable mentions Phil Daru, Jordan Sullivan, Andrew Wood, and Corey Peacock. Girl of the Year, Brittany Palmer won over Ariane Celeste, Luciana Andrade, Brooklyn Wren, and Chrissy Blair. I just probably just cycle those. Like, it's been the same girls for forever, so they all got a trophy by now, I'd hope. Fighting Spirit of the Year award goes to Kevin Holland for his noted bravery inside and out of the cage, helping his community in the face of danger on several occasions. If y'all aren't familiar with Kevin Holland, this is Superman, Hood Superman, out here catching burglars and shit. It's like, it reads like an anime script, bro. Kevin Holland is absolutely the main character of his own story. Make no mistake about that. But honorable mentions include Aaron Abbey, surviving cancer and battling cystic fibrosis to become a top contender in Cage Warriors. Bryce Mitchell got them camo shorts from Arkansas for doing charity, dedicating half of his UFC 272 fight purse to help children in medical need in his native Arkansas, with a special mention for Dana White, who matched Mitchell's contribution. Go Uncle Dana. Throwing in. Alexander Volkanovski for his determination, demonstrating a champion's will to overcome adversity and battling through a seemingly inescapable submission from Brian Ortega. Yeah, I mean, y'all literally heard me earlier talk about how any lesser human would have tapped to that. There's no mistake about that. And then Robbie Lawler for his compassion versus Nick Diaz, displaying true respect and genuine care for his opponent's well-being in life, even though they were just trying to beat the shit out of one another. And with that, that's all of the awards. Man, 2022 was a crazy year for your boy. My warehouse got destroyed by a tornado, and then my makeshift facility got destroyed by a fire, and all kinds of shit went down, man. I was one of the best men in a lesbian wedding. I became a pasta bro. Shout out pasta bros. Know what I'm talking about. I'll have to find the timestamp, let you guys know in the group chat where y'all shout out is. You guys are officially niche internet micro celebrities now. But with that, we can parlay into just kind of looking forward to what's going to be going on in 2023. There's been a few fight announcements, things like that. And so the first one that I have on my list is that Rob Font versus Adrian Yanez has been set for April 8th. And that's a dog fight, y'all. Adrian Yanez is the truth. It's going to be really, really hard for me to pick against Adrian Yanez. I am absolutely certain that they offered this fight to guys ranked above Rob Font, and they turned that shit down. But Rob Font, him and he's up there in New England with like Frankie Edgar and them. A bunch of savages, and it's just a testament to the type of guys that they are over there whenever they'll take the fight against Adrian Yanez, because that is not an easy day at the office for anybody. Additionally, Sean Brady versus Michel Pereira has been set for a fight card in San Antonio, which I'll probably be going to. Like I mentioned earlier, I went to the Texas trifecta last year of Dallas, Houston, and Austin. They didn't do San Antonio, it doesn't seem, and so it'll be cool. Hopefully I can get all four in this year. That'd be dope if I could get San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, and Houston in. Also, UFC, give me a fucking media pass. Y'all got some fucking scrubs up there doing dog shit jobs, asking the stupidest fucking questions, bruh. Let me go in there. Let me go talk to these gentlemen. Let me get into the fights for free. Pay for my travel. Shit. Motherfucker. I'm fucking gonna see Dana White. I'm gonna slap him like he slaps his old lady for not giving me no motherfucking media pass. So stupid. Additionally, Dricus Duplessis, the last S is silent, motherfucker, is going to be fighting Derek Brunson, and that's a dogfight, y'all. Derek Brunson's a fucking savage, and Dricus du Plessis is obviously a fucking savage as well. So, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen there. But then we've got Cheeto Vera and Corey Sandhagen fighting on February 18th in the Apex headliner 5-round fight. That's going to be a dog fight. Like, goddamn. Wow. Whoever wins that's going to go on fight for the title. That's just that, right? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Whoever wins that either gets an immediate title shot or waits out and fights whoever wins. If like Sean O'Malley or somebody like that gets a title shot before them, someone jumps the queue. But neither of those guys, if they win that fight, should be fighting anybody without a strap on the line. And then Tatiana Suarez is coming back after a 4-year hiatus. She's been battling injuries and stuff, neck injuries. I like to call her Tabib. She's the girl's equivalent of Khabib. She just ragdolls motherfuckers, and she has world champions just splattered all over her. I really, really, really do believe that she'll be a world champion if she can keep her injuries in check. I know I'll be betting on Tatiana Suarez, especially when she's coming into fights healthy and motivated. And the last thing that I have on my list is the Dana White slap, but I've already talked enough shit about that. I'm not going to beat a dead horse like Dana does his old lady. So, with that, that's the 2022 year in review. 2023 is going to be a ton of fun. I appreciate you all so much, Armchair Army, for dealing with my dumb ass. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. I'm going to be doing this long term. I appreciate everybody. We'll catch you again in, I don't know, whenever this little hiatus is up. The first numbered UFC event, your boy will be back. Peace, y'all. All right, click them buttons for me.
Monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth.